This is the Caudron GIII by Copper State model. Introduced in 1914, this was one of the first planes used in World War I, built by a French aircraft company run by two brothers, René and Gaston Caudron. The Caudron GIII was designed specifically for military use as a reconnaissance aircraft. Typically, it wasn't armed, but on occasion it would carry light machine guns or bombs. At the opening of World War I, the French ordered thousands of these planes, with the Caudron factories themselves building more than 1,400. For their love of country, the Caudron brothers didn't charge other manufacturers a licensing fee, allowing more planes to be built. The Caudron was found to be very useful as a scout. It was stable and had good visibility. Unfortunately, it was soon outclassed by other improved designs and was withdrawn from the front line by 1916. The Italians and British continued using the G3 into 1917, with the Italians using it as a recon plane and the British using it as a ground attack plane with light bombs and machine guns. In 1915 and 16, the Australian Flying Corps used the G3 against the Ottoman Empire in the Mesopotamian campaign. After the war, the Chinese Fengtian clique obtained a number of G3s for use as a trainer plane. During the 1920s, China was going through what's called its warlord era, where several different military factions were growing and vying for power. The Fengtian clique was part of the very early Republic of China, and had good support from the Japanese government. But the relationship with Japan soured, and the leader of the Fengtian clique was assassinated by his Japanese sponsors. After unification into the nationalist Chinese government, all the G3 Caudrons fell under the control of the Republic of China. After the invasion of Manchuria, most of the G3s were captured by the Japanese and were likely destroyed. The Caudron was used in 1921 by female Caudron test pilot Adrienne Boland to be the first woman to cross the Andes in South America. The G3 had a ceiling of 4,500 meters, but the summits of the Andes reached up to 7,000 meters. So she had to fly between the mountains, taking a risky course through tight valleys. The trip was incredibly cold, and she wore pajamas under her flight suit, which she stuffed with newspapers to try to keep her warm during her 4-hour flight. Before her flight, a young lady in Buenos Aires warned her that when she saw an oyster-shaped lake in a valley to the right, that she should turn towards the mountain face to her left. Deciding to follow the irrational advice at the last minute, she turned into the mountain on a crash course. Thinking to herself that she'd crashed for such a stupid reason, a gust of wind lifted her up just before crashing. Crossing over the mountain, she saw the plains of Chile, and her fate was accomplished. She later learned that the young lady in Buenos Aires had been sent by a medium. She landed in Santiago on April 1st, 1921. While many of the locals had gathered to celebrate her accomplishment, the French consul failed to recognize her, thinking the whole thing was an April Fool's Day prank. Because of this, her accomplishment went unnoticed back in France. 3 years after her flight, she was finally created a Knight of the Legion of Honor, recognizing her Andes flight. This kit is available at MRS Hobby Shop in Salt Lake City or Sandy, Utah, or online at kitlinks.com.
Hannes, du paddelst mit mir immer so, und wie du mit deinem Paddelhaus. Hannes, zuckersüßer Hannes, du kannst das wirklich ganz famos. Du stippst dein Paddel mit'n Schwung so rein. Hannes, darin bist